We're talking today about how to build your self-confidence. In fact, I'm going to share a simple two-step exercise for you to build your self-confidence. I mean, what would you do if you had 10% or 20% more confidence in your life? Check out today's episode. Welcome to Tactical Beliefs and Core Stories. What this show is about it's about the things that we really want in life. The reason that we're not getting them is because of our belief system and the stories we tell ourselves, about our identity, and about what limits us. So we're looking at all these different things that we can do to change our inner belief system, to change our core stories so that we can get out of our own way to get what we want. So right now we're talking about self-confidence. Self-confidence is huge, right? I mean, you probably have in your mind what you would do if you had more self-confidence. I remember years ago, there was a guy that lived near me. Anyway, I'm a filmmaker, commercial filmmaker, and I had this idea for doing this movie, and I'd written this script, and I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was like the best thing ever, but I needed to find investors. Investors, talking to people about money. Oh, this is where I do not feel confident. This is where I do not feel comfortable. And I looked at this guy who just seemed to exude confidence, and I told myself, if I was confident like him, I could get that money. I could produce that film. I could get it distributed. I could do anything if I had confidence. Do you ever tell yourself that? So one of the tricky things about confidence is, in our storytelling, we tell ourselves that you have to be born with confidence. It's either something that you have or you don't. I'm either like that guy or I'm like me, not having confidence. But the fact is, that's just a story that we've told ourselves, and we tell ourselves over and over and over again until it becomes a core story. The story that is about our identity. This is who I am. This is all life has for me. And it limits us and it holds us back. I hope that makes sense to you. But as you start to really understand what your core story is and how it is repeatedly keeping you being the same, and whether that's the same that's good, you're a confident person and you're already doing great and it's just boosting more confidence. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Whatever you are believing, wherever you're at, you're going to stay there by the stories you tell yourself. So let me tell you a little story about how I was able to help my daughter boost her confidence levels and how it changed everything. And it's kind of a simple story, but she was small. She was, I'm thinking maybe 10 years old at the time, and she was practicing the piano. She had actually not been practicing consistently, and the deadline was fast approaching because tonight is a recital, and their grandparents are going to be there, and a whole bunch of strangers that she's never met are going to be there, and her teacher's going to be there, and everybody's going to know that she hasn't practiced. And I'm in the other room in my office working away on the computer, and I can hear her plunking away at the piano keys, and she's trying to get through the song, and she can't get through it without huge multiple mistakes, and finally I hear her crying. I mean, it's just destroying her to get through this song, and she can see exactly what's going to happen tonight as she performs in front of the grandparents. Well, I sat down next to her, and I'd been learning about all of these things, about how to intentionally boost her confidence. And I thought, what if we talk about some things she's good at? So we started to chat about that. Ellie, what are you really good at? Like when you play soccer, what are you really good at? Well, I'm the goalie, and the balls never get past me. I can catch anything. You know what? You're right. You can do that. What else? And we just kind of kept talking. We went through success after success after, all of these things that she was really good at. Some of the things I reminded her of, some of the things she knew. I'm a great reader. I'm really good at reading out loud. All of these different things. We started to chat about them, and we spent, maybe 2 minutes talking about what she was really good at. And then I said, hey, do you mind playing this song for me? Okay. And she started to play. I'm sitting on the bench next to her, and she played through the entire song flawlessly. No mistakes. The only thing that had changed is she spent 2 minutes thinking about how she was good at different things. It wasn't even related to the piano. It was just things that she was good at. She started to focus her story on what she was good at. So she boosted her confidence levels in certain areas, and it boosted her confidence level in the piano. Does that make sense to you? What it is our minds are always seeking evidences. Evidences that whatever story we're telling ourselves is true. And so there are two things that you can do in order to boost your confidence levels. And that's one, find the evidences that are going to back up what you want to have happen. And you have to do that deliberately and intentionally. Or number two, create evidences that will take you where you want to go. Hope that makes sense to you. So let me share with you just kind of a quick story. So this happened last year. I'm driving my little car, and have you ever taken a car to 200,000 miles? We've taken like 5 there. And it's always kind of an exciting experience for us to have the odometer click over, and you've got all these zeros back there, and you kind of feel like, wow, I've really done something with this car. Well, just before it turned over, I had 200 miles to go. The fuel pump goes out, and I'm having trouble starting my car. Occasionally I can get it started, so I get it down to a shop, and they replace the fuel pump, and they kind of spilled some fuel in there, so it smelled awful. It was an experience. But we're getting close to turning over those 200,000 miles, so I'm paying attention to the odometer. And I'm looking at that, and I passed 200,000 miles, and it's this great momentous occasion, of course. Well, about, a couple days later, I'm driving, and all of a sudden the car just completely dies. It was like when the fuel pump had that problem, except this time I was driving. Before it was just having trouble starting, and now I was in the intersection, and I had to coast through. It's really dangerous. Anyway, I didn't know what to do. I called the people that had replaced it, and they kind of talked me through a few things to know what was going on. I ended up pushing the car to my home and getting it home. And, but I couldn't figure out what was going on because the gas gauge was right at the midpoint. Anyway, that went on for a couple of days with the car just in the garage and me trying to figure out how do I get it to the auto place. I don't want to have to tow it. We got it started before. Anyway, I'm just kind of thinking through the whole thing, and then I thought of one other thing, and I went out and looked. Just next to my odometer was a tripometer that I would always hit when I filled up my car with gas. And I could generally get about 350, 360 miles on my car with a full tank of gas. And I looked on there, and I was at 356 miles. And I had this thought, what if that gas gauge is wrong? What if it's telling me the wrong thing? I poured some gas in, fired it right up, and it drove fine. The gas gauge was permanently set at the halfway point. And because I was focused on other things, I didn't notice that my gas never went down the whole time I'm driving it. And since it's at halfway, I'm not thinking about any need to go out and refill it. Well, what happens in our lives is we are focused on evidences, on instruments, on things going on in our lives that we then tell ourselves is proof that we're like that. Proof that we can't sing. Proof that we can't speak publicly. Proof that we fail at things. Proof that, whatever it is that you're telling yourself that you're just kind of in one of these repeated fail patterns for repeated cycles. These things, we're looking at these evidences, and that's what's keeping us stuck. And sometimes that evidence is nothing remotely close to the truth. But because we believe it's true, it then becomes true in our lives, and we get stuck in this. Does that make sense to you? I hope it does. That's really how we get into these invisible turnstiles, or invisible merry-go-rounds, as I call them, is because we're looking at evidences that do not serve us. And so we need to be deliberate and intentional or as I like to say, tactical about our beliefs, and choose the ones that are going to help us. So I want you to do an exercise, and there's a 2-step exercise to this. The first one is so today we're looking at how to boost your confidence, how to have more confidence. And right now you're probably paying attention to all the evidence that shows that you can't. Maybe you stutter when you're talking on camera. Maybe you forget things all the time. Maybe, whatever it is that you're going through, you already know what those things are, and you focus on these evidences that prove that that's true. It proves that you shouldn't have confidence because of all these things. Okay, I get that. I've been there. But if you think a little bit deeper, you're also going to find the opposite to be true. Because you're going to find that, in some areas of my life, I do have confidence. Maybe you're not a great writer and you want to write books. Maybe that's what you want to do. But maybe you're a great cook and you can create anything from a recipe. Or maybe you don't even need a recipe. You can just invent things. You can taste something at a restaurant and you know exactly what's in there. You're really good at that. Well, I want you to look at the two things, and I want you to start focusing on the story that is going to be most constructive to you. On how you're a fantastic cook, how you can do all these things. And then I want you to journal this. I want you to write just a little story about how you are amazing at this. And that's going to start to boost your confidence, because in this area, you are hugely confident. Okay, so that's step number 1. I want you to look for current evidence in your own life that proves that you already have confidence. Step number 2 is I want you to create confidence by envisioning who you could be. So we talked about maybe you want to write a book and you're telling yourself, I wasn't a great student in English, or I didn't go to college, or whatever story you're looking at that tells you all this evidence about why you can't write a book. I want you to set that aside, and I want you to tell a new story. And maybe this story is about how you are just so inventive with your ideas, and that you had this idea come to you and you started to follow through with it. And then through practice and repetition and consistency, you started to get better and better at this. And then you started to share your story with other people. You would write a manuscript and you'd pass it around. They would say, hey, that's really good. That inspires me about this. Or, I liked what you did here. What if you changed this? And then you start having these collaborations. I want you to create a story about yourself and who you want to be, what you want to do. Does that make sense to you? So the 2 ways that you can boost your confidence is to look for evidence that shows you already have it in another area of your life. Step 2 is to create confidence by envisioning what you would like to have happen in your life currently and telling yourself that story in a future tense. Well, it's a present tense for something that you want to have happen in the future. Does that make sense? So you pretend as if it's already happened. Imagination is this wonderful thing. And as you pretend that and start to envelop that into your life, you are going to start to embody that. Fake it till you make it? Yeah. Fake it till you become it? Absolutely. So anyway, 2-step process for building your confidence. Try those out today. Share in the show notes not in the show notes, but in the comments below what you've done and how that's helping you today. What do you think? You've heard my thoughts. Now let's hear yours. In the comment section below, share what impressions came to your mind. What did you get out of this? If you have had thoughts to take action, please do so. Always listen to your inner voice. It's your ultimate guidance system. Of course, the best place to take action is at scottwilhite.com, because if you join me for a free web class, I will reward you by sending you my purpose planner so you can have a physical guide to help you get in touch with your inner guide. Your core story will serve you or shackle you. It's up to you. Choose your beliefs and pick your identity. It is choice, not chance, that determines your reality. See you next time.